5 News.
3 more people connected to North Charleston's federal public corruption investigation learned their punishment today. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Ann McGill. A judge sentenced nonprofit leaders Michelle Hilton and Donovan Moten each to 18 months in federal prison and 3 years supervised release for their roles in a scheme involving city violence prevention grant money. A judge also sentenced former North Charleston City Councilman Mike Brown in a separate part of that corruption case to 2 years. Now, Live 5's Elijah Brown was in federal court for us and explains how the judge weighed years of community service against the crimes that they admitted to committing. Elijah?
Yeah, that's right. A pretty rare day in federal court today as 3 of 8 people tied to North Charleston public corruption case were sentenced. Mike A. Brown, one of 3 North Charleston council members tied to the case, and nonprofit leaders Jenny Hegsworth, Michelle Hilton, and victim to their master's pay-for-play dealings. That master, as the judge described him, was former councilmember Jerome Hayward. Court records show that after North Charleston awarded $100,000 violence reduction grants to local nonprofits, federal prosecutors say both nonprofit leaders agreed to pay Hayward 20% of any grant their organizations receive in exchange for his support and influence on city council. Prosecutors say Hilton, one of the 2 nonprofit leaders who also worked as Hayward's personal assistant, and Moten, another nonprofit leader and long-term business associate, helped carry out the money laundering scheme that ultimately sent $40,000 in kickback payments to Hayward. During sentencing, both defense attorneys argued that their clients used at least part of that grant money for its intended purpose. Hilton's attorney pointed to community events and backpack giveaways that served nearly 200 children, and Moten's attorney highlighted his years of anti-violence work, including mentoring and helping rehabilitate 4 at-risk both as long-term community leaders whose years of service were overshadowed by simply one criminal decision, and Hilton's brother, daughter, and family friend both spoke on her behalf. Now, Judge Gergel ultimately sentenced both Hilton and Moten to 18 months in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. And back out here live, Mike Brown was sentenced to 2 years in federal court. For a closer look at the details and how that unraveled in court today, stay tuned for our full coverage at 6 o'clock. Reporting in downtown Charleston, Elijah Brown, Live 5 News.
Already.